there was a moment where I was missing so much school and so many birthday parties on Saturdays that I asked my mother, or complained to my mother. I didn't ask my mother anything. I remember I complained to her and said, I'm missing so many birthday parties. I miss school. I don't get to hang out with friends. I was pouting about gymnastics. And she looked at me and she said, okay, we'll go and quit tomorrow. My dad was away at work because like his job just took him on the road. And I was like, okay. I didn't really have a voice. Like, I didn't understand that I could just change my mind and say like no, but I felt so sick to my stomach. Didn't feel like it was right. I was so scared. And by the next day when I went to go quit, like, I wish I could have went back, but I couldn't. I just didn't know how to say, don't want to do this. Like, I just went along with it, didn't say anything. And she took me to gymnastics the next day, and she says, go up to your coach and tell your coach you're quitting. And I remember just walking up to my coach and saying, like, hanging my head and saying, I'm quitting gymnastics. And my coach was freaking pissed. Like, but same thing, she didn't speak up either. She didn't say anything like, no, like, what are you thinking? You've come so far. Because at this point, my local coach, I would go to the city an hour and a half away and learn what I could learn there and actually come back to the local club and teach them what I learned. And I was like 10 years old. So they were learning from me, and I was just like, obviously winning all these awards and these trophies for her, etc. And she just was like, and I just walked away. And then my dad came home. Like, again, didn't try to convince me to go back, didn't tell me what the heck, didn't have a conversation, didn't have a family sit down. Instead, we had a massive disconnect where my dad did not talk to me. And instead, the only time he would talk to me is when I would walk past him watching TV and watching the gymnastics, like nationals or Olympics or whatever. And he would just sit there and he would say, as he watched the TV and I walked by, you could have been there. So this weird freaking energy of like people who couldn't communicate with each other. I couldn't speak up to my dad. I couldn't say my true feelings about how I felt about the situation. He couldn't, for some reason, for all of the things that he ever enforced his law on, he never enforced it on that. He never just said, nope, you're not quitting. And so that was the end of it. And that was the end of my father and I's relationship. So I'm no longer the favorite. I'm no longer even a friend of my dad's. And he didn't talk to me for a month. Living in the same home with your father and who was your best friend. And like your biggest cheerleader, and just being ignored and feeling this crazy pressure in the room of just, or I don't know, just, it was just awful. Especially as a child, and the father of the home is like so angry with you, he won't talk to you. So I remember still the first thing that I said to him was, he was like working on a printer, and I looked at him and I said, is that a printer? Or something stupid like that about the printer. And he answered. And that was the first time we talked. So
at this point, my sister's gone. And now my father is kind of gone. And I just became Cinderella. That's when life got really hard. And there were a few things that just I'll never forget that happened that tore us completely apart. My older sister, Tiffany, had a child. And one day I was sitting with this baby, like I'm now, 10, maybe 11, I would say like 10. And I have this baby, and I'm sitting on the rocking chair, and she's in a diaper, and her mother is sitting in the chair across from me, and I'm rocking in the rocking chair, and she starts to cry. And I place my hand on her thigh, and I tell her, like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And at that point, I was then somehow molesting her, doing something inappropriate to her, and I was accused of, I'm not too sure exactly what I was accused of, but I was told that I could no longer be alone in a room with her. We'll call her Cassandra. I couldn't be alone in a room with Cassandra. And so I remember for the rest of my life, if she walked into a room and I was in the room, I had to leave. It was like the biggest pivotal moment, I think, for me and the deterioration of this relationship with this family. I just felt like a prisoner in my house, I guess. Just a intruder, actually, more than anything. Because, again, I don't have my sister, I don't have my father. My mother hates me, despises me. And so does my older sister, Tiffany. And now, the next thing that happened was around Cassandra. So I ended up developing this jealousy of Cassandra because she was like the baby, she was perfect, she was adorable, she was funny, she was cute, she never did anything wrong, she wasn't a fucked up foster child, she was blood, and they just loved her so much. And she got everything she wanted, including the room that she wanted, if I was in the room, obviously. So we were at a family gathering, and I was handing out the pieces of cake. It was dessert. And they were cutting cake and giving it to me and telling me to give it to this person and give it to that person and so on and so forth. And one of them was to Cassandra and one of them was to my father. So, and then one of them was for myself. And as a child, and I'm, grumpy, I see that Cassandra's piece, who's like, I don't know, 9 years older, 9 years younger than me, 8 years younger than me, I don't even know, so much younger than me, is bigger than mine. So I'm pissed. I'm pissed that she got a bigger piece than mine. She gets everything. She gets the room. She gets the love. She gets the attention. She gets the everything. And so now I had to go give a piece to my father. And when I go to give the piece to my father, I'm not in a good mood. And I say, here. And when I say here, the piece of pie flies into his lap. God. And he's pissed. And my mother, I swear she smiled with joy. She was like, because she had been telling this weird thing, I will always remember. She's like, destiny is manipulative. Destiny is manipulative. Destiny is manipulative. Destiny is manipulative. She is fucking everything up, pretty much is what she was trying to say. She's the one
causing all these problems. She's causing so many problems, and you don't even know. You think she's a princess. You think she's so great, and she's not. And one day you will see, and one day you will see, and one day you will see. And that was the day that she finally got my dad to see how terrible I was.